Hi there. This month, we're going to go through a case study that really, I think, highlights the importance of liability planning. Again, liability planning is us as professionals managing the liability side of the balance sheet, while financial planners, advisors manage the asset side of the balance sheet. These two worlds are inextricably, combined together, and much better planning outcomes happen when both sides are considered not in isolation, not in a silo, but together and how they affect either side of it. All right, so let's talk about this advisor-led case, referred case. Married couple, they're looking at buying a new home. They need more workspace. You can read this later on, but they want to work from. They both work from home. They need more space. Their kids are getting older, sharing a room now. Boy and girls, they want to create more space for all them. They have income in the $350,000 kind of range. They have a home, currently worth about $1.6 million. They got $1 million in liquidity from the previous sale of a rental property. They have a $600,000 mortgage currently at a 3.25% interest rate. So again, quite a bit of home equity in the property. $1 million liquidity, $1 million home equity, good income, but a very low interest rate, which they're hesitant to give up. But the reality is life is calling, and their story is they need more space. They're trying to figure out the best way to go about doing this. So the advisor doesn't know the answer. Do they buy first and then sell later? They enjoy this Airbnb cash flow income from their current home. They'd like to replicate that cash offset. It makes them feel more comfortable in their budget with a growing family, and so forth. So we have a goal potentially to buy at $2.5 to $3 million. So again, the questions are, how could this work? Can they buy without selling? If they need to sell, how much can they buy for, and so forth. So our really objective is to create what we're going to call a liability map. So the advisor can have a deeper conversation with a client about what's most important, what's possible, what are the costs, and where's the sequence? How does this process kind of come together? So, we're not really looking at interest rates, although interest rates are part of the conversation, and kind of how it all kind of comes together, right? So right now, there's no clear path what to do. We modeled a couple of different scenarios, and the benefit is the advisor can have a deeper client conversation. $3 million is kind of the target, unknown if it's even achievable. And so we talk about path one, selling first. We know that if they sell first, they've got $1 million liquidity, $1 million home equity. They can afford to buy $3 million. But if they want to buy first without selling, then they're capped at a $2.5 million selling. And there's some limitations there in terms of how they would qualify. They need to be able to rent the current home in order to be able to get enough cash flow to help them support two mortgages going forward. And then could they maybe buy some time, right? And again, kind of in here is the objective of trying to get an Airbnb, right? So they're kind of thinking they want to put this entire $1 million down. We talk about the idea of, you're going to have $2 million ultimately when you sell. Should all that money be in the house or not be in the house? And what are the benefits and downsides to putting all that money into the real estate? Ultimately, we tend to advise that, you borrow strategically, you don't put all the money into the home, and then you keep that money working for you in other spaces. Airbnb income, so we've talked about how that might work in new property. Do they buy something with an ADU existing? Do they, build something themselves? Then we talk through a couple of different bridge loans and non-QM type of loans that might all kind of fit to make them help them buy without selling. The advisor got to learn a couple of different things we talked about before. So there's anxiety here. We talked about how to sequence all this, and it's back with the advisor now. There's some clarity around their plan, and ultimately we're going to come back and redo this, and we'll do a follow-up to all this as well. So we're the liability planning partner here. Right, the advisor gets to continue managing the assets for the client, depending on what they ultimately end up doing. But all things are possible. The bottom line is, as going through all this, is to figure out kind of what's the best for the client. They're going to have to give up their 3.25% mortgage at some point. They've got $2 million. You got the objective of an Airbnb, $3 million purchase target. And so we've kind of delivered a little bit more about how that might work. Right, so now we've created this liability map with a couple of different options. We've talked about some tools that might work to bridge the gap necessarily if they really want to buy now without selling. And then ultimately we show them and model what it would look like if they ultimately bought for $2.5 or $3 million, but not putting down $2 million, just putting down $1 million and allowing the other $1 million to grow and be part of their net worth outside of the home. So we showed what the return is for that and how it all kind of looks, and then kind of which steps to follow to get all this kind of done. So that's great. So this is kind of what we do. The difference is that we help them with the decision framework, some kind of new tools, gave them input into what the value of cash and cash flow is over time. There's opportunities here for CPAs because of the capital gains. There's estate planning issues here that come up. We need the realtor expertise around zoning and permitting onto our properties. And of course, the central question in all this is the financial planner and their role in kind of helping this all come together. So really a fascinating case study with multiple moving variables that deeply involves how do you balance assets and liabilities together to be able to get the outcome, number one, that the family works, but also help them with sort of long-term net worth growth and planning. Thanks very much.